Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about INTPs and the struggle with extrovert feeling. Extrovert feeling is the inferior function in INTPs, therefore, it is the Achilles heel function. So, extrovert feeling is about the emotional tones of the present moment. It has to do with situations, with how people behave, how you are seen how you are seen by other people, um, the standards that are in society as to how you should act, the social norms such as shaking hands, smiling, um, offering, uh, pulling a chair out for someone, such little things like that, but also bigger things such as uh, going to university and going to parties and going to social gatherings because that's what everyone else is doing. It's sort of following the crowd as to what's popular with your age group. So you'll see a lot of young SFJ types who have strong extrovert feeling either in their first or second function. Also NFJ types I've seen who go along to parties in their early 20s or teenage years in high school, and they'll do this because everyone else is doing it. Um, they'll feel influenced to try different things without making much independent thought due to lack of introvert thinking. This is where INTPs are much different. Very caught up in introvert thinking, INTPs are largely unaware of other people's not motivations. I believe INTPs are very good at reading other people's motivations. We can appear aloof and unaware on the surface, but I think INTPs pierce deeply into what people want, uh, also how they're feeling, and that sort of thing. It's a funny sort of understanding because it's very uh, not visible on the surface. INTPs appear very unaware of people's emotions. I had an incident where my friend was upset. I walked in, I looked at him sort of perplexed, I was confused on the outside, but however, I clearly knew what was going on. He was upset about something. There's been situations where someone may be hinting that they're upset about something, and I just don't understand why emotions need to be a part of the situation. And it can actually annoy me sometimes when people get overly emotional, um, because introvert thinking sort of just like straight to the point. Okay, what's the solution? What's the core of the problem here? Like it cuts through all the human emotion. It's straight to the chase of what is actually happening in the situation. Introvert thinking looks straight to the core. Supported by extrovert intuition, INTPs can easily see behind what is actually happening in the present and projecting into the future through this intuitive function to see what is likely to happen. So INTPs are good at standing back from situations and being the observer, whereas say an ISTP, because of extrovert sensing, is dealing with the present moment. An ISTP are more likely uh, be blunt about it and say something that would probably hurt or could hurt a person without being aware of it because of the lack of extrovert feeling. This is why INTPs are rationals and ISTPs aren't, because INTPs are more receptive to what is likely to happen in a following sequence of events, whereas ISTPs will say what needs to be said in the present moment without really thinking about future consequences due to lack of introverted sensing, introverted intuition. I mean, so inferior extrovert feeling, the main topic of this video, comes up in. I had a comment on YouTube to do a video about this. Uh, I've had this with music, where I'd enjoy the sort of melancholic ambient music, and I'd sort of have these little triggers of emotion or something, and it'd be a very mysterious thing as this is my inferior function extrovert feeling, and it is a mystery to try and understand it. The inferior function is both vehemently suppressed by each type, but is also of intrigue. My brother's an ESTP, and he's interested in Mark Zuckerberg, an INTJ, who leads with introvert intuition, his dominant function. So, extrovert feeling for INTPs It bubbles up in stressful situations. It's quickly suppressed though, because INTPs always regret it when they get overly emotional, as this is such a way of bizarre mode of action. INTPs are like computer brain. Um, every situation is sort of you're there acting, but you're also half not there. So it's sort of like 1 foot out of reality, always analyzing situations and people. Um, so extrovert feeling in the fourth function makes INTPs interested in watching people's behavior from a distance, not being actually engaged in their situation. I like big cityscapes. Being in cities is great because there's lots of people, there's lots of flow. I like the flow of time and people and money and resources and economics and just the observing human behavior. I love watching body language videos on YouTube. Um, so that's probably some form of extroverted feeling. I like romantic comedies. I like set sorts of music. Buckethead is a instrumental piece um, that sort of triggers INTP's emotions to some degree, I suppose. Um, but I don't like music that is clearly an emotional, uh, reaching out sort of thing, where it's the lyrics are sobby and just doesn't click. Um, so extrovert feeling. It's really hard to talk about extrovert feelings. It's I barely understand it. Um, when I read about extrovert feeling, I'm not very interested. When I read about introvert thinking and extrovert intuition, and to some degree introvert sensing, not really though. Like I am much more interested in that. However, extrovert feeling is something that is very slowly developed in the INTP. Um, so it is a mystery. So I got a comment. Sugartronics talking about my FE tends to get bubbling when I watch depressing TV shows or movies with concepts of alienation. I think this has to do with INTPs sort of knowing in the back of their mind that life could be meaningless, and people on a day to day basis are sort of putting on a face to get through life happily and etc. And INTPs are like, but aren't you just sort of putting on a mask sort of thing? Because the end is that the world will cave in, yada yada. However, I think it's okay to be happy and enjoy your life, and it's okay to be ignorant towards some of the depressing stuff. I think because, or just choose not to look at it because I think it's better to try and enjoy your life rather than shutting yourself away from everything and sitting in a hole. Introvert thinking, the trap of introvert thinking, sort of, it's like sitting in a hole and you can't see outside the two uh, dirt piles. So introvert thinking keeps it up here. It's like this personal view of logic, and you convince yourself it's true, like what how you see the world. Whereas when you get out in the world more, it's like TNT, extrovert intuition, bam, like breaks it all apart, and you have new perspectives, and you're suddenly more optimistic. So INTPs it's very healthy for INTPs to get out in the world and experience things more. Extrovert intuition allows INTPs to do this. It can be a bit of a grudge sometimes trying to get into the NE mode more. It's very easy to sit at home and allow NE to feed TI. So it is good for INTPs to get into situations without overthinking it, just doing it and learning from the situation. So that's important for INTPs' confidence. But yes, I agree with that comment. Watching certain shows and music videos, it does get the FE bubbling. It's interesting to see how that affects it. However, you can easily fall into the FE clutch where your logic gets distorted and extrovert feeling has this unhealthy hold on your psyche. You can read more about that online, about how the inferior function can get a clutch on the personality type. And thank you for watching. Cheers.